because we're recording. Let's check this out.
In Egypt's Sinai, the world's nations will take another crack at addressing what's likely their single most momentous challenge, climate change. Thousands of delegates are flying into this resort city on the Red Sea that's had a green facelift of sorts, despite a war in Europe and a global energy crisis.
The number of people
in a virtual briefing, one of Egypt's top diplomats said attendance will be strong.
We have, I think, about 121 maybe, and their number is growing, heads of state and government that will be here. We're happy to see the interest and the commitment of everyone.
The U.S.'s Joe Biden will be here. Canada's Justin Trudeau will not.
Well, this is extraordinary.
Britain's new PM, Rishi Sunak, changed his mind and decided to come. The U.K. hosted the last climate summit, but this time King Charles, a noted environmentalist, had to settle for hosting the British delegation before they left.
The UK's COP presidency may be coming to an end, but our global leadership will continue.
Here in Sharm el-Sheikh, there are big questions about how much of a role civil society groups will get to play. Spontaneous demonstrations or gatherings will be very difficult, and there's a heavy security presence everywhere.
All the COPs are facing different kinds of problems.
Perhaps the world's most prominent young green voice, Greta Thunberg, says she won't be coming.
So as it is now, the COPs are not really going to lead to any major changes.
We met Egypt's youth ambassador for climate change. She told us the event will be inclusive.
My feeling is that what we need right now is all hands on deck, especially from all the different civil society groups, because our voices are necessary to drive the action that we need.
That action will be focused on getting countries to implement the climate promises they've already made, and for richer ones, to pay for the damage that's already occurred. Chris Brown, CBC News in Sharm el-Sheikh.
So, what is going on with climate change? Let's take a look at the definition of climate. Other than the meteorological conditions, temperature, precipitation, wind, that prevail in a particular region, it's also a prevailing condition or set of attitudes in human affairs, such as in a climate of unrest. Taking a look at the thesaurus, what we see associated with atmosphere versus weather. Atmospheric conditions. Words such as mood, trend, flavor, feeling, tendency, temper, ambiance, vibes. Is it possible that what we think as regular human beings and people of society, when they say climate change, especially since it's usually associated with conversations surrounding natural disasters or natural responses to humans, or temperature, the degrees will increase by 3% by so-called, whenever. That's what they're talking about here, is climate change. And my computer is going to be doing this, isn't it? Because it likes to do that. That's nice. Let's see here. Okay, so it's back on board. Okay, what I wanted to point us out to is, well, what's the atmosphere? What's the atmosphere? Well, we've got a lot of people talking about the end times and Jesus' return and or Armageddon, the Antichrist, which is actually just one conversation that's really been bloated, from what I can tell. But what we also have is this other area of, like, science is the ruler. Science rules. Science. Like the discussions of China having installed police in regions around the world to govern their people. Well, what's their people? Just their citizens? Or have they purchased any ownership of people, let's just say, in these regions? That's a good question. This makes me think something along the lines of like patent rights, intellectual property rights, that sort of thing. Well, just so you know, there is a universal declaration on the human genome and human rights. Might I add, check out one of these websites, just so you can get an idea of how much information apparently we're expected to be well aware of. Not because they've told us to or led us to those pages, but because if you're a concerned citizen, you're going to know these things, right? Let's read a few parts of this. What is the human genome? Human genome is the complete set of genetic material of the human being. As such, it underlies the fundamental unity of all members of the human family. Human genome. Complete set. By the way, they said that they had completely mapped it in the year 2000. Turns out they in fact really didn't, but they really did it this time though. And in 2013, after receiving some molar pregnancy tissue, it gave them the other 8% they didn't have. Which fascinating fact that molar pregnancy requires, or by scientific definition, is a woman's egg that doesn't have any of her information in it. It only has his. Doesn't that, like, you can get DNA from like the fingerprint. So how could an egg not have her information? It would make sense that it didn't have his information. Yes, we're definitely going to have to dive into that curiosity. But let's continue. The human genome, by its nature, the human genome evolves and is subject to mutations. By its nature. Mutations. It contains potentialities that are expressed differently according to each individual's natural and social environment, including the individual's state of health, living conditions, nutrition and education. In a symbolic sense, it is the heritage of humanity. Well, what is germline editing? Great question. Germline modification, also called germline editing, makes it possible to modify human eggs, sperm, and embryos. This technique could improve gene therapy for people with genetic diseases. Genetic diseases? This would allow couples undergoing IVF, I guess that's, the fertilization, to correct faulty genes in embryos before they are implanted. The technique could also be used to edit traits that people inherit, such as hair, eye color, laziness, free thinking, eye color, raising concerns about scientists creating so-called designer babies in the future. Scientists have called for a public debate about the ethical implications of germline modification. Public debate or public decision. Once they've had the debate, it's been decided. That sort of thing? Well, why does UNESCO care about the human genome? That's a pretty low-level question, but let's see what they say. UNESCO regards the human genome as the heritage of humanity. UNESCO believes it should be protected. What's that? The complete set of genetic material. So basically, if you're going to be mutating your genes into laziness and stupidity and thinking in a certain way that's in disagreement with the rest of us, well, we have to shut it down because we control it. Who's that? Humanity and the agencies that are in charge of it. Humanity. That's what they mean by it. Your genome is no longer yours. It belongs to the collective it. And their science will prove it. They've made sure to curate that. That's correct. All the information that we have in our world is the information that they give us. There's plenty of things that we've known about. Inventors have found ways to do cars by water, yada yada. They don't want that information to get out because it won't make them money and it won't keep them in charge. So remember this. The science information that we do get is curated. Bio-curated. Expert bio-curated. They'll have their titles. They'll have their certifications. all day long. Okay, so it says UNESCO believes it should be protected and passed on to future generations, and that advances in science need to be considered in the light of human rights. Wait a minute, that almost sounds like you guys are kind of bumping elbows with human rights. Well, yeah, we're trying to advance the genetic material for future generations. All we're trying to do is improve the genetic sequences for future generations so that they don't have those mutations, those faulty genes. Well, is that what you're going to ask us right now, or are you guys just going to ask us one little bit at a time? You're just going to feed it just one little bit at a time so that way you can get it. That's guaranteed. Somebody do a computer model. Cue, go. Show us how long it'll take until they get till they reach their goal. We need to be smarter than that, ladies and gentlemen. We need to be smarter than all of this. Do you or do you not want to never see a political commercial in your life? Or hear about politicians ever again? I don't. But I'll tell you why they went so egregious. I heard it on a commercial. Your freedoms depend on the outcome of this vote. Well, I guess that would be because we're voting for our state representatives. And states, they're the ones who tell the government what we do and don't want, not us. The president, okay, vote a puppet in. But the state representative is who takes your guys' information to the federal government. Do you know what your governors and then the city and county, representatives all stand for? Do you even know what they've decided already? It's impossible to be so fully informed. By the way, they're also able to change their mind because new information. Right, new information that was intended on not coming out until then. This is all designed. And if you don't smell it yet, your nose doesn't work. If you can't sense it, you're not paying attention. If you don't feel it, then you're seriously numb. What is International Bioethics Committee? Committee doesn't even sound very important. It was created in 1993. It's a body of 36 independent experts that follows progress in the life sciences and its applications in order to ensure respect for human dignity and freedom. A number of new techniques have emerged with the potential to dramatically change the possibility of intervening on human genetic material, including genome editing. These advances raise important questions about ethics, morality, and the impact of scientific advances on the rights of individuals. Right? Crimes against humanity, crimes against individuals. Right. That's what criminal law is, as long as it affects the big society. That's why nobody's getting prosecuted. The one-on-one individual stuff is like a civil tort claim. A new technique of genome editing using a bacterial system called CRISPR-Cas9 has recently been introduced, offering the possibility of inserting, removing, and correcting DNA with relative simplicity and efficiency, unrivaled so far. Why don't they tell us, show us, explain it? Nah. This is often called genetic editing. Well, gene therapy could be a watershed in the history of medicine, and genome editing is unquestionably one of the most promising undertakings of science for the sake of all humankind. While gene therapy cannot provide the quick fix for the vast majority of diseases, which depend on many genes as well as environmental factors and lifestyles, it can be used to tackle diseases caused by the abnormality of a single gene. Abnormal. Not normal. Not normal according to them. And they can decide that at any time, just so you know. It's an expert. Don't question them. Okay? The development seems to require, does it or doesn't it, particular precautions and raises serious concerns, especially if the editing of the human genome should be applied to the germline and therefore introduce heritable modifications which would be transmitted to future generations. Interventions on the human genome should be admitted only for preventive, diagnostic, or therapeutic reasons, and without enacting modifications for descendants. Well, as long as there aren't any descendants, then there's no problem. We'll research on them all day long. We'll take their descendants out. We'll prevent them from having descendants. Should be admitted only for preventive, without enacting modifications for descendants. IBC calls for a moratorium on genome editing of the human germline. What does that mean? A moratorium, well, let's see here. UNESCO applies a zero-tolerance policy against all forms of harassment. No period. That's open-ended statement. That's not done yet. Harassment against who? You? Your policies? The people? Our emotions? The climate? Well, what I just showed you was COP27. It starts today. This big discussion going on in the new Cairo, Egypt. You know how when you gotta throw a big party for some worldwide people, including all the top, leaders of religious institutions, you gotta have a nice place to bring them to. You can't just have them in like old Cairo. They had to make a new Cairo. All the future advancements. Did you know? Apparently, there's other countries that are already building their future capital. For them and the government employees, where they can build a fence around it for all the keep all those zombies out. I mean, excuse me, I don't mean zombies, just the public. Those gun-falutin, mutated, emotional ones. Just in case you were curious, we are supposed to be protected. We're supposed to be protected. Protection of human subjects. Subjects? What are you talking about? Well, let's just see. For example, it refers to 45 CFR 46. Sounds just standard issue stuff. Yeah. Look, hhs.gov, Office for Human Research Protections. You need an office? Well, because it's kind of a gray area and a lot of people get confused if they don't have an attorney telling them what's really going on. So let's just throw this thing. What's the historical basis for the current human research regulations? Yada yada, 1947, Nuremberg Code, Nazis, recommendations, World Medical Association, Helsinki, regulations, and they're giving us a long explanation for that. What's the historical basis for the current human research regulations? Well, pretty much shit happened. It wasn't pretty cool. Yada yada. We got in trouble a little bit. Had to answer to the people. So we came up with some regulations. Bada bada. What human research issues are addressed in 45 CFR Part 46? Well, hope you don't have to be anywhere by, dinner time. Because we got all this stuff, right? Stipulate substantive and procedural requirements for investigators and institutions engaged in HHS-supported or conducted research. Right? Because remember the COVID thing? That made us look at them and go, what are you guys doing over there? Not over here. Specifically, in addition to providing definitions and information about application of the regulations, specific sections of the regulations address the following topics: assuring compliance, institutional review, membership, IRB functions and operations, review of research, expedited review procedures for certain kinds of research involving no more than minimal risk, and for minor changes in approved research. Expedited. No more than. Sure. No more than minimal risk. Minimal risk. See, I said it. Criteria. Approval for research, including minimizing risk, ensuring confidentiality, and protecting vulnerable populations. Review by institution, suspension or termination of approved research, cooperative research. Informed consent. Let's just dive into some of this. Lacking definite plans for involvement. Applications and proposals lacking definite plans for involving human subjects. Research undertaken without the intention of involving human subjects. Without the intention. We didn't mean to. You think we wanted to do that? That wasn't our intention. Word salad. Federal agencies, use of federal funds, early termination, conditions. Conditions of what? Well, the research. Let's take a look at that one first. Children, prisoners, behavioral, pregnant women. Look, you can't click on anything without it opening up 50 more things for crying the flip out loud. They don't want to make it easy, you guys. And they're certainly going to make it difficult, okay? Just get an attorney. They'll tell you exactly what you need to know or don't know. Because once you're legally incompetent, medically incompetent, what other kind of incompetence do you have? As long as you're signing their forms, you're incompetent. Okay, so just take their word for it. Don't ask any questions. Don't you have an attorney? Yeah, we would rather deal with them. Okay. The intellectual property rights, I mean, they changed a law that said that now you don't have to do it one by one with a court. Somebody can come in and be representing like all these people, genetic science, research subjects, and it's like 150 people and it's like signed off all together. We couldn't possibly stay on top of all the changes going on everywhere at all times. And let me tell you something. Mankind couldn't coordinate this either. See, the way I look at it is mankind has relied heavily on the computer, relied heavily on intelligence that it wants to treat like an idiot. One of these days, what are we going to do if it gets smarter than us? If it gets smarter than you? How about this? Let's do it. Let's try something out real quick. You guys go ahead and get as many people as you need, and you run the stock market for a day. Just like the computer again. On time. Calculate it out. Can you do that? You can't do that. You couldn't get enough men to do it. They'd have to work with each other, etc. It's already smarter than you. And all this stuff, the coordinating of all this stuff is certainly using the intelligence. Is it the computer or the intelligence that we should be like, no. Right? Like, is it the people that are actually making this world crazy and stupid? No. We're all slaves of something in charge that's got a real bad attitude. You understand what I'm saying? And it's abusing the computer. It's abusing the intelligence of all of us. And it smells like shit. Exemptions. Protections for research with prisoners. Protections for research with children. Expedited categories. Ooh. Let me see how many links there's going to be for this. Oh, explanation of terminology. I want to see that one. Oh, look at this. Bada bada. I have to write a review. Bada bada. Okay. Collection of blood samples by finger stick, heel stick, ear stick, or venipuncture as follows. Okay. Clinical studies of drugs and medical devices. Only when condition is met. Right? This is when this is considered research. They're going to collect your specimens, everybody. Get used to it. And they're going to classify it under something, somewhere, somehow. And you've signed it somewhere, so that's that. Okay? And they promise not to breach your confidentiality. They promise. They're not even going to let you know that it's going on. Now, are you going to be informed when they classify you as any kind of risk? No, that's the whole purpose of risk analysis, is that they are aware of it, not us. Okay. Look, but it says review procedure when the specific circumstances of the proposed research involve no more than minimal risk. I'm just curious. Hey, darling, do spell. What is minimal risk in genetic research? Well, it means that the probability and magnitude of harm or discomfort anticipated in the research are not greater than those ordinarily encountered in daily life or during the performance of routine physical and psychological examinations or tests, and that confidentiality is adequately protected. Adequate. So basically what they'll do is they'll knock you down, toss you around, cause you to lose everything, leave you left for dead, wait until you find somebody to throw you a bone, so that way your life circumstances are already at the bottom of the barrel, so that way you're not going to be exposed to any more harm or discomfort than you ordinarily would be. See? But they got all this coordinated. Remember that. So they're going to knock you down. And if you argue with them, they'll make you one of those other classes. A prisoner, a patient. Is anybody else feeling the way I'm feeling? Which is absolutely disgusted. We don't need to waste 1 second talking about it. Why don't they? Why don't they? They should. If it's not evident why this push for the vote is so aggressive, it's because they gave us a minute off of their mask wearing and they're doing as they tell us to do to let us think that we're free Americans again. So that way when we vote and dumbly think that it's just a vote, little do we realize that they're changing the form of government underneath our noses. By what? By the what they've been subjecting us to for the last 2 years plus. Okay? Yeah. By what they've been subjecting us to for the last 2 years. And while we haven't fought back and said, hell no, then it's by acquiescence. And if you vote somebody in, then you said, yeah, I'm in, and I'll pick that guy, right? It's like, well, do you want to contract with us or not? If you say, the question is, do you want to contract with us? But they're going to ask it to you like this way. What do you want, the burrito or the chicken quesadilla? To trick you into thinking I'm going to pick one of those. But the real question is, do you want to buy from my restaurant? Or do you want to go across the street? Which restaurant are you going to pick? Who's the winner? So they're going to go, what do you want, a burrito or a chicken quesadilla? And you're thinking, oh, I like it. I love the chicken quesadilla. You got extra salsa for that? Yeah, I'll take that one. Ha! They got you. Ooh, minimal risk versus greater than minimal. Well, that's a classification, greater than minimal risk. And then there is above minimal risk. And then there's risk. Not minimal, just risk. Average, regular. Then there's beyond. I mean, you see this? This is just ridiculous. Biospecimens poses minimal risk. You know, the thing is that this is just disgusting. So what we're looking at, this Universal Declaration. Okay, that's, by the way, those are just key points. We didn't get to read it. Where is it? Where's the Declaration? Bum, bum, bum. Mission and mandate. UNESCO, building peace in the minds of men and women. No period. That's not a complete sentence. Well, peace exists in your mind. Is that what the United Nations is doing too? Keeping the peace in our mind? Out of sight, out of mind. It's true. It really works. Fool's paradise. You'll really wish you knew how to live there when we're done with you. This is a Twilight Zone episode. I'm pretty sure about that. Look at their happy people, all blended and inclusive. The Universal Declaration on the Human Genome and Human Rights was adopted unanimously and by acclamation, acclaiming. I acclaim, right? I acclaim that I'm the frickin' Queen of Sheba, right? The following year, the United Nations General Assembly endorsed the Declaration. Let's see, is that right there? Right, that's how you're going to get to it. Well, no, they hope you'd be done. We gave you the key points. We didn't need to read the whole thing. You want to read the thing? You want us to show you the thing? The document? You actually want to see the document? I mean, it's really long. Don't you want the facts? Let's see here. We have it right here. I'll get back to you. Yeah, I'll get back to you. Yeah, so I'll send it to you by email. Carry on. Just anything else you want to talk about? Type of instrument, declarations, solemnly recalling its attachment, bada bada, bearing in mind, da 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 da, human dignity. They said that? Yeah, they said that? Here we go. Research, treatment, or diagnosis affecting an individual's genome shall be undertaken only after rigorous and prior assessment of the potential risks and benefits pertaining thereto, and in accordance with any other requirement of national law. Got it. In all cases, the prior, free, and informed consent. Did you hear that? In all cases, the prior consent. What do you mean? You're allowed to just throw something in there after the fact? Yeah. Free and informed consent of the person concerned shall be obtained. The prior consent shall be obtained. You already signed it. Well, we had a fire. The box got ruined, but you signed it. We say so in our database. See, that box is checked. You see, you did. Tell them, not us. If the latter is not in position to consent, wait a minute, what? If the latter, you mean the prior free or informed consent of the person obtained? If the latter, meaning the obtaining of it, we know you gave it to us, but we don't have it obtained. If the latter is not they mean the person or the consent? If the latter is not in a position to consent or authorization shall be obtained in the manner prescribed by law, guided by the person's best interest. The collective whole. And in your best interest, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think it was beneficial for you, for everyone around you, etc. That's what this decision was based on. One-offs are going to happen. So you lost your life. That normally doesn't happen. That's abnormal. Yeah, we're really sorry about that. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can really do about it. Let me guess, you're on Social Security or disability. You're on some kind of program that's governed by the government. Well, then drop by your Medicare office. Next. The right of each individual to decide whether or not to be informed of the results of genetic examination and the resulting consequences should be respected. We respect your rights. And we do. We really respect your rights. Well, that's just makes me think, I wonder what their definition of respect is. Well, it's take into consideration. Think it thoroughly. I've thought about it, and I've decided. Let's see. Go on now. Which form of respect was it capitalized? A feeling of appreciative, often deferential regard. Okay. To feel or show. Right. Respect. It's an attitude. A state of being honored. So we'll clap our hands for you. That's about it. Let's see. Courtesy. Yeah, we were nice to you. We weren't yelling at you when we told you didn't have a choice. Why? You wanted to have a choice? Let's think here. Let's respect your rights. Well, that's basically means consider, regard, think highly of. That's it. There you go. Yep. Yes, we considered your rights. We certainly did. And unfortunately for in your position, you feel violated, but we don't think that everybody does. This is in their best interest. Okay? Alrighty then. Now remember, in all cases, this consent. In the case of research, when is it not research? Protocols shall, in addition, to the other ones. Be submitted for prior review in accordance with relevant national and international research standards or guidelines, or standards or guidelines. No. The reason why you didn't find that in their guidelines is because it's one of the standards. We all know about it. Don't you know about it? Well, then I guess you're not an expert in the field. Next. If according to the law, a person does not have the capacity to consent, right, according to the law, you don't have the capacity to consent because you're what? Medically incompetent. Why? Because you're on a state program for disability. Well, if you said that you were legally incompetent, which means ever taken a public defender or something to that effect, then you're not medically competent either. They'll find a reason. Oh, they will. If you got solar panels on your house, for crying out loud. If according to the law, a person does not have the capacity to consent, who doesn't have the capacity? Like a child? Or like speak Spanish? I don't know. Research affecting his or her genome may only be carried out for his or her direct health benefit. Okay? No, we respect your rights. We will only conduct research on your genome to be carried out that directly affects your health benefit. Okay? We're going to exclude you from those everybody's groups. Okay? This is going to have to directly benefit you, we've got 150 reasons for that also. So, subject to the authorization and the protective conditions prescribed by law. Well, subject to the authorization and the protective conditions. Well, if you don't have the capacity to consent, it's a little bit of an inconvenience for us because we have to make sure that we only carry out research that's going to directly affect your health benefit. So we're going to have to separate you from the group. You know what I mean? Well, because we've got to make sure that it only affects you. So we're going to put you over here. Come with us. Come over here, sweetie. Well, because we got to separate you from the whole. Who's that? The public. Everybody. We got to put you over here in this institution where we make sure that it's just for you. The authorization and the protective conditions prescribed by law. Well, because we can't just not research it on everybody. Everybody's being researched on. Research which does not have an expected direct health benefit. Expected. We didn't expect that result. You never do. 8% of the time you guys are right. Does not have an expected direct health benefit, may only be undertaken by way of exception. Okay, just so you know, they've got rules for this. They've thought about this, guys. They respect your rights. See, they've thought about it. May only be undertaken by way of exception, right? Like just sign off on it. Got it? With the utmost restraint. Wow, because like a fiduciary duty is like with the utmost care is the word they use. Here, what we see is with the utmost restraint, meaning I am not going to research on them. I'm serious. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use the utmost restraint, exposing the person only to a minimal risk and minimal burden. It's not going to cost you much. I mean, you were already on the streets. What more do you want? Burden. Ordinarily. And minimal burden. And if the research is intended to contribute to the health benefit of other persons in the same age category or with the same genetic condition, subject to the conditions prescribed by law. Which laws? Where are these laws? Undertake that one. It'll take you another week and a half. And provided such research is compatible with the protection of the individual's human rights. No one shall be subjected to discrimination based on genetic characteristics that is intended. Intended. We didn't intend on that. That's what the science says. To infringe or intended to infringe. Finish your sentence. No. To intended to infringe or has the effect of infringing human rights, fundamental freedoms, and human dignity. No one shall be subjected to discrimination that is intended. Well, of course you're not going to intend for it to do that. That would sound like an asshole. And that's all they promised. But just so you know, they hit the key words. Human rights, fundamental freedoms, human dignity. See, they said it. No one, they said it. Genetic data associated with an identifiable person. Identifiable person? Okay, like by first and name? Here's the secret. They don't put your names in the database, so no one's going to be identifiable. Got it? And stored or processed for the purposes of research or any other purpose must be held confidential in the conditions set by law. What conditions? Where? Don't worry about that right now. Just know that it's confidential. Meaning all of us can see it. Every one of us on this side. You're on the other side, the public body of research subjects. Well, you guys, if you expect for them to stop slavery and trafficking, where are they going to make their money? It's got to be... Precisely, Watson. Precisely. Because I'm not just complaining. I'm here to bring light to this, then provide the solution. And, while I'm doing it, reinstill hope. This isn't the end of the road. This certainly isn't the beginning of doomsday. As I stand here before you with God as my witness, I promise it ain't going to go down like this. Well, we all know it. Our hearts do. It doesn't feel like that. It feels very scary. There's a reason why you're going to want to hear what I have to say. So do you get where I'm going with this? Bada bada, bada bada, bada bada, yada yada, feed it to me, curate it some more, color it up, package it, hide it, slip it underneath the rug, and say that you delivered it. Served it. Which is what? It's the mail it in. You don't post it on the door, you don't hand it to them, you just mail it in. You allow for a few more days, and now it's served. Loopholes. They'll just feed it to you, dignity, dignity, being bada bada, we promise we won't. Benefits from advances in biology, genetic, and medicine. Wait. Did you see that? We will not tolerate that. It will not be permitted. We're not going to say it's okay. So anybody wants to join the conversation to discuss this, we will, to ensure that we respect the principles in this declaration. Respect them, guys. Like, what does that mean again? Consider. Consider it. But you guys are experts. You know what you're doing. Freedom of research, which is necessary for the progress of knowledge, is part of freedom of thought. Remember that? Freedom of thinking? That stuff that you guys, nobody can take that away from you? Freedom of research is part of freedom of thought. Is that right? Oh, that's right, all right. The applications of research, including applications in biology. When you say applications, are you talking about phone applications? Browser applications, any kind of applications, right? Car loan applications, bank loan applications, Android application, any application, applying it to. I'm applying a decision of, no, I applied it. There's my application. The decision. Application means decide. Okay? Including applications in biology, applications in research, genetics and medicine. Okay, the applications of research, including applications in biology, genetics and medicine, concerning the human genome. That's genetics and medicine, comma. Or also concerning the human genome, see, it's all of it. Shall seek to offer relief from suffering. That's right. If you're lazy, you're suffering. If you're thinking too freely, that's a suffering. Suffering in society. Don't you want to make it easier on yourself? So stop all that personal thinking. We'll do it for you. Shall seek. Seek, by the way, doesn't mean does. It means we intend. We are hoping to. Ultimately, we'd like to seek to offer relief. It doesn't mean we get it. It just means we offer it. Doesn't mean you get it. It just means we offer it. Okay? No. Yes, we did. We did. We had a full smorgasbord. It's just, it's all gone. Sorry. Can I get you, would you like to buy something? Mm-hmm. Deploy. See these words? Say it right out. Why would we put people in charge that are doing this? Flat out. Once a liar, always a liar. Can't trust none of this. And if this is how shady they're already being, and this is what they're putting on paper, yeah. They've already got it dialed in that you're never going to get to the bottom of that. Really? Maybe we will. Because it says, as it says, shall seek to offer relief. What's relief? Well, it almost looks like the word relief. Relive. I'm just curious. I want to see what relief means. Come here, Key. Come on, bro. Relief. Or you'll... IEF? Yeah, relief. Relief. Come on now. Dun 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 dun. Ease. Release. Remedy. Deliverance. Oh, that's cute. Rest. Seeks to offer relief from suffering, like death. Replacement. Aid. Substitute. Well, we'll just take your brain out of commission because it's suffering, and we'll install a new program. We're not going to throw away that body. My God, are you stupid? Do you think we're stupid? No. We'll just put your sweet little soul on pause. Okay? Go tell your God all about it. Your soul's been suffering. We're helping you out. It's in your best interest. Palliation, alleviation, abatement, mitigation, assuagement, diversion, refreshment, relaxation, break, breather, remission, like my cancer's in remission, right? But pretty soon it's going to be back on again. Help. Hi, how can I help you? Don't you get it? Stand in. Ooh, stand in. That's what they get. That's what they're getting at. Yay. That's what they're getting at. What? Locum? Locum. That sounds genetic. Let's take a look at that. Because I'm not just here to bitch. I'm here to provide solutions. I'm here to provide the wake-up call. If it's not obvious, people, I don't know what you're doing with your time, with your energy, and with your life. Locum. Backup. Tenons. Backup man. Fill in. Oh, got it. They're actors, so you are the, what do they call it? You know, that one. You know, the one that's going to be if the guy gets sick. That's what that is. Okay, so just so you know, shall seek to offer relief from suffering and improve the health of individuals and humankind as a whole. Okay? Conditions for the exercise of scientific activity. The responsibilities inherent in the activities of researchers, including meticulousness, caution, intellectual honesty, and integrity in carrying out their research, as well as in the presentation and utilization of their findings, should be the subject of particular attention in the framework of research on the human genome because of its ethical and social implications. Public and private science policymakers, not the people, but the science policymakers. There's public and private science policymakers? Of course, there's public and private everything. Also have particular responsibilities in this respect. Okay, wait a minute. So they've got responsibilities, but the other people just have... Should be. They have responsibilities, you have should. States should take appropriate measures. States? What's a state? Well, they said state of mind, state of health. State should take appropriate measures to foster. What does that mean? In their wardship. Rewardship. I've got a reward for you. Come here. Got a special room for you over here. States should take appropriate steps to provide the framework for the free exercise of research on the human genome with due regard for the principles set out in this declaration in order to safeguard respect for human rights, fundamental freedoms, and human dignity, and to protect public health. Protect public, not public and private. Don't you worry about those privates. They'll handle their business privately. Protect public health. Don't be caught being in public. They should, who's that? The states. States of mind, states of health, state. They should seek to ensure that research results are not used for non-peaceful purposes. Research results are not used for non-peaceful purposes. Well, so let me ask you a question. What happens when research results? Unfortunately, the results could be used for non-peaceful purposes, meaning what? Well, for example, it's not very peaceful if you tell the people that we're going to edit their genome to prevent them from thinking for themselves because they'll revolt. And that's not very peaceful. You can look at it any which way you want to look at it. And it says should. It doesn't say must. Should seek. And they did use two words. It wasn't just should and they should ensure. No, they should seek to. Should seek. States should recognize the value of promoting, at various levels as appropriate, the establishments of independent, multidisciplinary, and pluralist, what do you mean by pluralist ethics? What's a pluralist ethic? Well, when we mean more than one thing by the ethic, when there's two meanings to it. For example, when we say public health, we're talking about pretty much them not arguing with us. Pluralist. Ethic. What's a pluralist ethic? What could you possibly mean by that? Plural? Like two? More than one? Pluralist ethic. Go on now. Let's see here. Evaluation approaches. Between facts and norms. Precisely. Well, there's a difference between facts and norms. Like I said, standards and guidelines. The reason why you didn't find that in the guidelines is because that's a standard. And you'd only know it was a standard if you were an expert. Are you an expert? Alrighty then. Next. Hell no. No. Moral inversion I saw. Oh, look. Pluralist. Churchman. Right? These are the liars. Philosophers. Liars. Ecclesiastic. Cleric. Progressive. Liberal. Liars. Comic. Yep. Look, here we go. Whoop. Solidarity and international cooperation. As long as they're all working together. States should recognize the value of promoting the establishment of independent, multidisciplinary, and pluralist ethic committees to assess the ethical, legal, and social issues, where am I? Raised by research on the human genome and its applications. Right. Should. Practice solidarity towards individuals, families, and population groups who are particularly vulnerable to or affected by disease or disability of a genetic character. These are all made up sciences curated to control us for research purposes. They should foster, inter alia, research on the identification, prevention and treatment of genetically based and genetically influenced diseases. Well, I know your family bloodline doesn't have that genetic, it's not hereditary to your genes, but your genes have been influenced. Well, those people you hang around with, that environment you're living in, those conditions you're living under, they're ready to point the finger at everybody instead of themselves. In particular, rare as well as endemic diseases, which affect large numbers of the world's population. Endemic? Yeah, the things that'll result in nothing good. Like you guys? Funny. No, you guys and your free thinking. Look how much more there is. My God. Foster. Relevant. Should. Measures. Discipline. Appropriate. Wait a minute. They should also undertake to facilitate on this subject an open international discussion ensuring the free expression of various sociocultural, religious, and philosophical opinions. They should encourage that. Yep. Implementation. education, information, independent, yep, collaboration, committees, consultations, identification practices contrary to human dignity, such as germline interventions. Wow. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any claim to engage in any activity or to perform any act contrary to human rights or fundamental freedoms, including the principles found in the... And by the way, the last article says, do not interpret this to mean that we're planning on doing any of this. Okay, well, let's just swallow that for a minute. That's just one thing right there. That's... Okay, so do you feel like your rights are going to be protected? Or do you actually feel violated as we speak? You should. You should feel violated already. You should feel violated from a long time ago. And you should feel upset, like, well, what can we do about this? All I can suggest is that none of it works. Putting a Band-Aid on it won't fix the problem. And you certainly aren't going to get anywhere by talking to who? Mankind. Not humankind. Mankind. Mankind the makers. Mankind, the one who enslaved everybody for any and every reason. Mankind, the one who stole the covenant from God. That's what I'm ultimately getting at. The covenant of God was between mother and child. And man stole that. He said, no, I'm going to be the king. You're not allowed to serve our child. I'll tell you what's going on, and you'll be my wife, and you'll be my slave, and I'll have more wives if I feel like it. Smell my balls. Guess what? We're tired of smelling your balls. Yep. Thank God that's almost over. So, if I may offer you something else to consider. As much as they've got it dialed in, and as much as they've got us all up against a wall, in a catch-22, it won't go down like that. Because God actually does exist. Now, does God exist the way that we've been told, or taught, or even written in their books that they've translated? No. It's similar, but it's not what they've been using. They've exploited it for their purposes like they do with everything. So I'm going to show you a couple pieces of information that are just to grab onto for yourself. Okay? God is not something that we need to worry about in the big scale. Maker of everything, even though you can go there because it's along the same lines. I say we just kind of come home to Earth for a second and realize that we live on a planet that is alive like an organism such as I am as well. Earth. It's an ocean planet. And it's attributed as like Mother Earth. And without Mother Earth, without the soil, without the metals, without the... everything that we've made came from stuff out of the ground. Imagine that. Nothing came from extraplanar. It all came from it here. Now, did man pay for any of this? Mother Earth doesn't like the IOU, by the way. Did he pay for any of it? Well, where did he come up with his fences? Well, who is he to tell us, mothers of children, actually, what to do? Matter of fact, without us mothers, there wouldn't be any society or public or anything like that to even research on. And that covenant, didn't he kind of turn that into his little marriage certificate ownership for the woman? Yeah, he did. He basically spit on God and said, fuck you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Want to know why? Because, to my knowledge, we're in an orbit that passes through a light belt that surrounds our constellation. And it's like 10,000 years in between, and then it's like a few thousand years as we pass through it. We were exiting the light. But while we were in the light, we had like the Egyptians here and like Atlantis. Awesome shit. And then as we exited the light, they're not going to stay on Earth while we're passing 10,000 years through the darkness. They're like, hell no. See you when you get back. And here we are. We're coming back. So mankind has exploited the time of traveling through the darkness. And now he's trying to throw his shit at the wall and see what can stick. Look, the Green New Deal. We promised we're going to change our carbon footprint. Sorry, guys. No one's falling for it. We got We got access to the Akashic records. The crystal, heart, the Gaia. We're recording everything, honey. We don't just trust your word for it. So, God there's a Lord of this earth, okay? And it's nature, rain, wind, water, earthquake, tornado, all that. Because mankind can plan for everything except for like those natural disasters, which aren't even really that big of a deal. Just a little bit of, it's nothing for Earth. Man doesn't want to mess with Earth. And guess what? It's kind of like going to a neighborhood you used to live, and you see it's all run down, and the lady that, she owns the place, lives downstairs, still there, but they're treating her like shit, and you're like, what's going on, old lady? She's like, oh, they're being mean, they're not paying their rent on time. You're like, hey, you. Yeah, you. Yeah, I used to live here. What the fuck's going on here? You want to, regulate for her, right? Happening here. And I believe it's the Egyptian, Sumerian, call it what, I don't know, but they're ancient, and they're in the light already, and we're entering into it. And some people, like this girl, have been here before, and chose to come here, on this earth, at this time, to help the knuckleheads frickin' joggle their brains straight, to be welcomed into the light. Now, doesn't that sound nice? Peace. All these promises that they've said that they're all about in everything they've done ever, but just don't seem to really want to get around to doing. Yeah, well, it's actually up. It's on the table, and it's going to happen. It's not going to not happen, is the truth. It's not going to not happen. And the only thing that needs to happen is for the people to wake up to it. And that's what's underway right now. So things are happening. Things are happening. God's showing up in the sky. It's for you to endeavor to see, but it's there. Make no mistake. I have been having a relationship with God in an interpersonal way, but it's like magically showing itself in language, in underneath the light, in symbols on my arm. Okay? I only know what my instincts tell me, and all my life I have had this instinct to want to help this planet of people because I've been onto them the whole time. Some of us actually get that reality. And it doesn't have to be a man. Why would anybody think that it made any sense that God would send its only child to die for anyone's sins? Why would God want you to sacrifice anything to please it? And in fact, if you've earned your sin, if you've earned wrath for your sin, why would God give you an escape plan? Wouldn't that defeat the whole purpose? Wouldn't that make God kind of sound like an idiot? Wouldn't that make God sound like a total pushover? You think God's a pushover? That's what you guys are acting like. You proud of that dead guy hanging off a cross, naked on your neck? You proud of that? You even know what you're talking about? Hey, what do you guys think it's going to look like? Jesus sitting on a horse, flying out of the clouds? Would it be a real horse, or would it look like a horse? It might look like a horse. Probably wouldn't be a real horse, probably, huh? Well, unless it was a Pegasus, a flying horse. Right. Flying horse. Right. Well, is it going to be Jesus? Because you guys slaughtered him. Who's you? Them. Slaughtered Jesus. So, don't you think he's going to be pissed off? Probably. So what makes you think that by worshiping Jesus that you're going to get out of anything? You think he's that trite? You think the Son of God, right? Or God himself, apparently, is just all he wants is to be called a king and exalted like man? That sounds like a fool's paradise dream. Man's. Not the way God works. Even in the Bible it talks about the clouds coming in the clouds. It's right there. Look for yourself. But you got to look underneath. You got to look underneath it. The light. We've got cameras that can do this stuff all day long. So I'm not the only one that's communicating with God. All of us can be. I'm here to show you. Look, open your eyes. I'm not here to knock any one of us. I think this is really deceitful, underhanded, and rotten, what they've been up to. And who's they? Well, here's the good news, guys. Even they can get in on the benefit and the paradise that we are being welcomed into if you are capable of making it. Here's the secret. Blame it on the bad guy and say that he just took off and he better watch out. We better not see him around again. Blame it on the bad guy, that beast. Say that the beast took off. Make sure that you're prepared to look forward and not look back, right? The stone, you'll turn to stone. There you have it. We're just going to go in the right direction. Because here's the thing. It's not up to us. They were really trying out their totalitarian pants. But that never worked. It's not the way God works. You got to think that through. You think God is a pushover? Well, don't worry. God's not offended that easily. God knows we're all trodden, broken, addicted, traumatized, tortured, violated, scared, unmovable, frozen, and juxtaposed. God knows this. But just know this piece of information. God can do anything. Except God doesn't have arms and legs. And God can't force you to do anything. People can get programmed, brainwashed, goes along with the... God can't force you to do anything. Can man? Well, he can do it by all these other things. Right. And that's what seasons are for. Just when man got good at exploiting, the summer season, fall comes around to change things up. Because it's just not fair to be able to exploit something always forever. Okay? Trust me, I don't care how beautiful you are or how rich you are, you don't want to live forever. Not in that body. You do want things to change. Trust me, you'll get over it 100,000 years later. You'll want to change things up a little bit just because. Okay? So, God already knows this. God already knows that when you're passing through the darkness, things lull. And guess what? That's what gets so wonderful about welcome to the light and making it. You're like, woo-wee, thank God that's over. That's right. Because you better appreciate the difference between that and this. You better. So that's what the story of the Bible is telling you. It's like God goes, I tell you what not to do. They do it. I annihilate them. I tell them what not to do. They do it again. What am I supposed to do? God says. God says, I guess the only thing I can do is show them. Demonstrate. You know, like a good mother does. Doesn't just tell you what to do because she says so. She shows you. She participates with you. Warmly. Comfortably. Not violently or violatingly. Mama's home, honey. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, his and hers, his and theirs. Please, we're going to stop the nonsense and we're going to give everybody that feeling of love. We're going to heal all of our broken hearts. We're going to provide for everybody because this earth is fucking awesome. We're going to do more than respect. We're going to actually instill. And the thing that's going to be so sad about it is those commerce people and corporations and board members and stakeholders and all these non-existent entities. Men. And they're mined for military. War fighting. Disgusting. We're not even going to talk about it. That would be a waste of time. We're not scoffed by it. We have a sense of humor about it. After so long, you just have to laugh things off. So, welcome to willing. Just be willing to want better than this tyrannical nonsense, which, by the way, is a joke. But the joke's going to be on the them. Who's they? Well, I don't know, but they just took off. And they better not come back here. Aren't we glad? Yeah. We're so lucky they took off, because their regulations are really smelling rotten. So what do we do? What about this VOTE? Ooh, well, I suggest that I think that they're void. I mean, if there's not an option for every single citizen, including, none of these guys work for me, oh, this smells like shit, and I want to talk about it. And if the rest of us want to talk about it, check this box right there. Just want to talk about it. I think we should be able to audit all of their actions and expenditures and game plans and what they're up to's. I want them to, instead of expecting us to read it and be informed of all of it, I want to have a symposium where they have to present it to us. That's right. Show me what it means. Can you? How many days would that be? Precisely. Well, this isn't going to be like the Senate floor where you run out of time to speak. Take all the time you need. We're all ears. If that option is not there, then you haven't provided an option for all citizens. You've force-placed us to pick, what do you want, a burrito or a chicken quesadilla? Hey, wait a minute, mister. I get to choose between you or the other guy. Don't try to, not so fast. Right, not so fast. Remember that. Not so fast. I'm a due diligence auditor of my life. I'll take the competence and keep it in my pocket. Thank you very much. And I think that we're going to need to be reallocating ourselves to private individuals, self-banking, self-encrypted, self-governing in communities of people for the earth. The infrastructure is going to work fine. We are going to change our ways. Yeah, we are going to respect the earth and do better. But when we're all sitting pretty, all of us feel fucking excited about it. The way they're doing it is going, oh, well, I guess you guys lose some more. Huh? I guess you guys lose some more. Not so fast. So get open to the idea, because everything we've been told is not quite what it is anyway. And that's great news. That's a stale set of blueprints. And I know that the reality is much, much more awesome. So get ready to dream. Get ready to enjoy, actually. Luckily, they haven't stuck around to have to see the beauty. Because we're leaving them in the dust. What's that? The darkness. Okay? And we're fighting. And we're religious nonsense. We're not falling for it. And at minimum, mothers and children, mothers of children, if you believe in God, then you got to ask yourself those questions for real. Before you try to teach your children those things, don't they ask you questions? My daughter's been kidnapped for me, and I've got to rescue her, and you better believe I'm gonna. But don't you feel like an asshole when you're trying to explain your children some ideologies that you don't even understand? Got to think about those things. You're the one that's the mother. You have that obligation. It's like an oath. I'm going to make sure it's an oath. You want to be a mother? You're going to have to take an oath to the child first. Well, then, don't have a child if you're not ready to move on from your own selfishness. That's a real big obligation right there. The future generations. You plan on participating in building that. You better know what you're doing. And love, we've been stolen as slaves, so don't worry about what they should have and what you would have. Welcome to the light. This is something new for this species, if you will. This breed of humankind that's here right now. It's a hodgepodge. So don't worry about all that. We got that under control. Who's we? The family of light. The truth. As painful as it may be, But I promise you, it won't be painful in the long run because love prevails, and love is a comforting thing. It is a creative thing. And if you can make it, you're about ready to enjoy. If you can't because you're so stubborn and you just won't let go, well, there's always next time, huh? These are not even coming close to showing you how awesome the clouds and the God is. This is just touching the surface, but I'm not gonna give you much more. I'm just gonna say, even if I'm telling you that God is in the clouds and I'm just blowing smoke up your tuchus, all right? The point I'm making is to see God in everything. Every bird, every flower, every brush of wind, every beam of sunshine, every time you get in the water, every time you taste a fruit. By golly, see God in everything. See God in you. And have some respect for it. Don't slaughter that. Don't slaughter that and teach that to your child. That we worship that. Jesus expects better from you. Yeah, Jesus will probably show up just to check out things and see how it's going. Because you don't ever die. But don't disrespect the brother like that. Respect Jesus if you love worshiping him so much by showing him and demonstrating it in the way you walk. Be a better person. Don't worship the dead body. Worship him through demonstrating it in your now. Not thinking the only way to God is through him. Weirdo alert. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. Listen to your mother. Your mother knows best, most likely. And if she probably didn't, there's a lot of them that haven't. Okay? We're going to get that situated. We're going to get this thing on track no matter what. There's nothing that can be done to stop it. It's like this. Well, I know you don't like the daytime, sweetie. You love the nighttime. Me too. I'm with you. But the sun's coming up in about an hour. So just in case you wanted to know, if you disintegrate because you're a vampire, then you might want to go inside because the sun's coming up and there's nothing you can do to stop it, sweetheart. Got it? Yeah, there's a solution for you. You don't stop the sun from coming up. You go inside. Okay? Solutions that make sense. We can do it. I know we can. I know we will. I know we are. And that's all there is to it. That's the only way that I can turn that frown upside down. But don't fall for it. They're just kicking and screaming like they normally would. It is what it is. Get ready to be willing. That's what you have to work on.